Music for All is proud to sponsor Bandstand. At Music for All, we're about providing positively life-changing experiences. Join us with your marching band at Bands of America or with your concert ensemble at the Music for All National Festival. Students can audition for our honor ensembles or attend camp at the Music for All Summer Symposium, featuring the Sweetwater Director Academy, an amazing week of professional development for directors led by Dr. Nola Jones. Learn more at musicforall.org.
Romeo Music is the leader in audio, video, music, and lighting technology for educators. With a combined nearly 200 years of experience, Romeo Music's subject matter experts understand the struggles that face teachers in today's music classrooms. With a laser focus on educational technology, Romeo Music provides a turnkey solution, everything from audio cables to on-site training. To learn more, visit www.romeomusic.net.
Hello, and welcome to Bandstand, the official podcast of the Tennessee Bandmasters Association. I'm your host, David Aydelott, and I hope you'll join us on a journey through the past, present, and future of bands in Tennessee. We'll delve into the rich history of Tennessee bands, uncovering the hidden gems and legendary figures who shaped the state's band landscape. We'll survey the present, where you'll meet the movers and shakers of today, gaining insights from their expertise and experiences. And we'll gaze towards the future, exploring the exciting possibilities that await Tennessee's school bands. Today's episode is more student-centered, starting with band members from South Gibson High School and finishing with some undergrads at MTSU. Stephen Price is the band director at South Gibson High, and along with some members of his leadership team, hosts the West Tennessee Marching Arts podcast. We talk in the first part of today's episode about what they've learned from producing their podcast, their advice for other high school students, and we even get into a quick discussion about the best band contest concession food. Thanks to Olivia Olson, Wyatt Smith, Sadie Hurd, and Mr. Price for the conversation. I'm excited for this one. I'm always excited for all of our podcast episodes, but this one's going to be a lot different than normal because we're talking to several students here all at once. So this is Stephen Price, who is the director of bands at South Gibson High School, and he has some members of his leadership team, Olivia Olson, Wyatt Smith, and Sadie Hurd. Sadie, how do you say your last name?
Hurd, you got it right.
Perfect. All right, I got lucky. And so they have a podcast called the West Tennessee Marching Arts Podcast that they record and publish and drop, I guess, pretty much weekly, right?
Yeah, we try to keep it going throughout the year.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to talk to them. So my question is, tell me about yourself. Stephen, you can start first. I know you've been teaching for a while. You're also like a past president of WTSBOA. You've been a leader amongst the band directors in the state. So let's hear your story.
Yeah, I've done all that stuff. I'm a glutton for punishment, so I volunteer for stuff more often than I should. But yeah, I've been a band director now for a little over 20 years. I think this is my 21st year. I started off at Liberty High School in Jackson. When Liberty first opened in 2003, I was the assistant with Karen Henning, who you interviewed a week or two ago. We started that program, and then when South Gibson opened in 2009, I got hired here to start the program here. So I've been here since 2009. And just, we started small. When the school started, it was only 9th and 10th grade. And then we added a grade for a couple of years until we were full 9 through 12. The program has been getting, I think bigger and better. And we're still trying to get better every year. Like you said, I have done other things. I was president of WTSBOA. I just came off the board right after COVID. I was past president during the COVID shutdown. So, we kind of helped guide things through that. But that was really enjoyable. I enjoy being with other band directors, which is one of the reasons I started this podcast. Yeah, I just want to brag about their programs and talk about them because I like them.
Good deal. And how large was South Gibson when it started?
Our first year, we didn't do a marching band, but we were, I think, 30 total, right about 30. Mm-hmm. And then the next year, we did marching the next year. I think we were maybe 42 that next year, and then we grew from there. And now we're at our biggest, we were about 120. Like a lot of other programs, the COVID shutdown, kind of affected our numbers. We're sitting right above 100 right now, total numbers.
Yep. A lot of bands are in that same situation. How large is the school?
The school is enrollment 782 or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that.
So you've
So
got a
it's
great percentage of kids
having
in
just
band.
over 100 is great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was at Ravenwood. We started kind of the same way, 9th and 10th only, tiny little band. And it was kind of fun. Somebody was asking me about this the other day, what it was like to start a school. And I said, I'm glad I did it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing is you get to start the traditions.
Yeah,
Which nobody knows any better. So whatever you do is right. So that's the great thing about it, right?
exactly. So, Stephen, why don't you introduce your kids here?
All right. I'll start just to my left here is Olivia. Olivia, tell us about yourself.
So I'm a junior. I have been doing guard since 7th grade. I've been on the weapon line since I'd say end of my freshman year. This is my first year on leadership, but man, I don't know. Band has really helped me through a lot. Just like gaining confidence and everything. I don't. Let me tell you before. We're not going to talk about that.
You weren't shy, were you? I can't imagine you being shy.
Mr. Price, I was scared of you.
Well, you should be. I don't know.
Okay.
All good band directors say that.
That's right. That's right.
I had a point and I lost it.
You were talking about how you were shy. So I think it's funny that not only are you like a leader in the band program, but you're also now a podcaster. So that's a long way from shy. How did we get there?
Well, really, I just kind of had to throw myself out there. If I stayed shy and didn't ask for help or just didn't do anything, I wasn't going to get anywhere.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. Next is Sadie. Sadie, tell us about yourself.
I'm a sophomore in high school. I've been in percussion since 5th grade. Is it 5th or 6th?
It's sixth grade.
Sixth grade.
I went through like 2 different band directors in middle school, and then I got to high school not knowing what I was doing, but that's fine. We learned, we lived, and we're here. Ow. But yeah, band really taught me like how to push through things when you don't want to do it, and like willpower and just stuff like that.
Yep.
Determination.
And what do you play, Sadie, in the percussion section?
I play the quints this year.
Oh, nice.
Mhm.
How heavy are they?
Too heavy. I saw a video the other day that it was like they feel about like 30 pounds when you have them like lifted up, but when you put them down, it feels like 80.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That's
Yeah.
center of balance.
Yeah.
What's your
14.
hardest drill set this year?
Ooh, probably the drum break. Like the beginning of it, we had to go like 3 yards, and then after my solo, I go like 3 yards over again.
Wow.
And with
Who writes your drill? Is that Mr. Price's fault?
no, it's Tico's fault.
Okay.
Yeah, he's also my drum instructor, so everything is pretty much his fault.
That's funny.
Yes.
Okay. And next we have Wyatt. Wyatt, tell us about yourself.
Saving the best for last.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard Wyatt's voice a lot on your podcast, so that's familiar
That
to me.
should say something.
Professional yapper.
I love talking.
We know.
I'm a big extrovert. I'm glad to be doing this podcast. I like doing the intro of it. I love screaming. I love going to band. A band helped me actually talk a lot. Actually, I made friends from every single band we see. I have friends in, and I love seeing their shows every year. And I love going to band practice and just screaming, making sure everyone's energy is high. And that's really just me, just talking.
Yep. What do you play, Wyatt?
I play the bari sax and soprano sax.
That tracks.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. Okay, Wyatt, do you have good hair? Because all saxophone players that I know have like really fancy hair.
Right
No.
now, no, because the school air got me. But
That's
in the
so
morning,
real.
yeah.
That's hilarious.
He likes to think that.
Okay, so how did this thing get started? This podcast you guys have?
So I started it last year with a completely different group. Actually,
Yeah.
it was still they were members of the leadership team, but they were all seniors, so they all graduated. And the idea was kind of like what you've talked about on your podcast. You know, just bringing this band family together. In your case, it's because Tennessee is west, middle, east, kind of in sections, and it's it's your philosophy to try to bring them together through a podcast. Well,
Yep.
kind of the same thing, just we're in West Tennessee with all these different counties, all these different bands. A lot of these bands don't know each other or don't realize, we're just the same as them. They see us as their competition. We're the bad guys. We're evil. They're out to get us. But I wanted them, for one, to hear us and realize we're just like them. And two, I just wanted to celebrate the sport of West Tennessee marching arts. And we almost treat it like ESPN, where we preview the upcoming competition and the field shows we're excited to see, and then we recap the results and talk about who we're surprised with, who our favorite show is that we watch. So we just wanted to share our passion with all the students and even directors who wanted to listen, and all over West Tennessee to create that band family.
I think that's great. My question is, I've judged over there in West Tennessee a little bit. Are you like ripping judges' recaps apart too? Like, I want to know.
No.
Do I need to listen to all your podcasts, or is there like a David
should be a
Aydelott hate
segment.
podcast over there?
That was episode 108.
You have to have a password to get into that one, actually.
Oh,
No.
okay, yeah,
No,
that's a
when I
pay pass. Yeah,
When I first set this podcast up, I made it clear I wanted this to be a very positive atmosphere.
yeah,
I didn't want any negativity. If you didn't like a certain band or a certain band director, let's just keep that to ourselves and really just talk about the positives. Because I wanted to have that family atmosphere, and talking negative is so easy to do. And we have enough of that in our world already.
yes.
So let's just celebrate what we do instead of knocking other programs or judges down.
I could not love that more. I love athletics, and if I weren't a high school band director, I probably would have been a high school football coach.
Oh yeah.
And so, it's my friends on the athletic side, they get so much natural support because of the way that our culture supports athletics, and there's always going to be a football team in a high school on Friday night, period. And band and the other arts aren't like that. And so I don't understand this philosophy of why band directors and kids sometimes tear each other down instead of lift each other up, because we have to work together. We have to be each other's advocates as we go through this fairly challenging thing that we've chosen to do. So what you're doing here certainly does that, and I love it very much.
Yeah. Now, I want to make clear that when we're on the field, I want to win. But anytime another band needs help, so there was this great motivational speaker. I think he still is speaking, Scott Lang,
Yep.
who great motivational speaker. His word that he kind of made up but made popular was co-opetition. Yes, you're going to go out there and compete, but anytime a band needs help, we're going to help them out. We've loaned tubas to bands. We've loaned field commander podiums to bands when their wheels fall off their field commander podiums. So I'm going to help them out.
Yep. And competition's part of life. And some of our colleagues and friends, I may cut this part out of mine, they get a little bit highbrow about competition, but it's just a fact of life. If you're auditioning for a symphony job as an oboist, you're competing against dozens of other people as well. If you're trying to get into a really high prestigious university, that's a competition. And so learning how to be prepared and learning how to deal with the failures is part of what you learn as a competitor. And through competitive marching band or through athletics, there's a lot of lessons that come with, when you get rewarded for it, but also when you have to overcome challenges. And that's a great skill to have as a person going into the world. So kudos to you guys.
Well, I mean, Olivia talked about it, how shy she was, and then she had no choice but to just put herself out there, and at risk of failure, she put herself out there. But she did well. She worked hard. That's half of it, and she's had success.
Yep, that's good. I mean, I know Olivia really well. We're good friends. We go way back. So
Yeah.
Yeah, back in my day.
So what is the process like? I think you go out and do live recordings, like on site at contests, but then you also sit around a table there at South Gibson and record as well. So tell me about your process.
So we try to do once a week. It's usually on Wednesdays because that's when we don't have after-school practice. So we do it a few minutes right after school. And we just talk about the upcoming competitions, or, if competitions aren't happening, we just talk about different subjects like, are we far enough along in our field show as we should be? Are we behind? Just different topics that all bands go through. And then on the weekends, whenever we can find the time, when we're not warming up, when we're not performing, we have our phones out and we just find random people and interview them and say, hey, what's your favorite concession food, or what's your show about?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Wyatt had a unique opportunity 2 weeks ago at Huntington's competition because we were on fall break. Huntington allowed Wyatt to come in basically with a press pass.
Yeah.
Wyatt, tell us about your experience there at Huntington.
Honestly, it was amazing. I got to park with the bands, so I was instantly with the bands, right next to Crockett. I followed station camp for most of the day, and got to go on the field with them. They let me on the field with them.
Well, that's
Cool.
the thing. Station camp invited you
Yeah.
to follow them, right?
Yeah, they asked, "Hey, do you want to follow me?" They saw my press pass and they went, "Hey, come here," and they just let me go with them. I got on the field with them, helped them push a prop off because they were struggling with it, and that was really fun. I got 3 interviews. 2 of them sent to Mr. Price, and one of them did not, and it was their instructor, their brass instructor. So I kind of got sad about that, but it was pretty good. I loved them, and I love the Invitational too. I love seeing all the other bands. Scotts Hill, got to see them again.
Yep.
So love that.
Yeah, that was a good show. I like that stadium. That's a cool little stadium.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
love that stadium.
Yeah, it's a fun show. Mr. Martin does a really good job running that show. So
Yeah,
That's
I
one.
do thank Mr. Martin for letting Wyatt come in and do that.
yeah, and Mr. Price, you were the announcer. Did a great job.
He was.
I appreciate it.
Dude, I heard him say "skibbity toilet."
Oh, my goodness.
What? I need a video.
The announcer's least favorite thing in the world to do is bandgrams.
Oh.
Yeah, I was at a show this past weekend down in Atlanta, and they were doing bandagrams, and I discussed with the announcer that they should start doing upcharges for any sound effects.
That's
So,
it. That's it.
Sound
you know,
effects.
Yeah, if they ask you to sound like a bird or something, then that's an extra $10 for the bandagram. Like there ought to be an upcharge for
$10.
bandagrams.
Yeah, I had to woof. Woof.
Yeah,
What?
see,
'Cause
that should have been $5 more right there.
Their
Yeah.
pet dog said hi, said woof woof.
Oh
Yep.
my goodness.
And I had to say these whatever words.
He said "skibbity rizzler."
Renee stuff, yeah. That's funny.
brain rot.
Honestly, that's a good business idea.
that is good.
Dude,
business
There you
idea.
go.
Yeah, I know how to make money. Okay, so I guess kids, I want to know from you guys, what kind of things you talk to so many, especially Wyatt, you talk to so many other students in bands. What's similar? I know this podcast is a lot about discovering what is similar about ourselves. What do you find?
Dibs.
Oh, you take it.
I found that all the kids that I have ever talking to, they all get excited to be with their friends at practice. I asked them, what helps you get through practice, and they say their friends, and that shows me how band has really shown people that you make friends through band and with band, and it's amazing, and I love seeing the band community grow through them.
Yeah, to kind of go off of what I said, I've only heard maybe 2 answers to one question. It's what's your favorite part about band? It's either concessions or the family get through it. So
It's very valid.
yeah,
Honestly.
it is very valid.
I think in every kid, like no matter how long their practices are, no matter how many practices they have, you find that they, at least most of them, have the same work and drive, and they all want the same thing, and they get excited over the same things.
Yeah. And it's difficult for everybody, isn't it? Everybody has English homework to do on Sunday before you go back to school on Monday. And you had a contest all day on Saturday. Everybody's going through those challenges. And that's why it's important for us to support each other. Because everybody's got it's tough for everybody. But ultimately, that's good for you. You need those challenges, and you need to learn how to overcome those and be supported by your friends and your teachers and your family, so you can learn how to, that obstacles aren't always a bad thing, that you can find a way through them. Okay, so what do you think about this podcast in your future? Are any of you thinking about maybe going into some kind of media because of your experience with this podcast?
Unless I want to be a military journalist, then no.
Okay, all right.
Because I'm going to the Navy.
Good for you, Wyatt.
I wouldn't mind.
I
I wouldn't
mean,
mind.
I'll give me a press pass.
Okay.
At a
Heard
band
that.
contest. It'll be good.
Yep.
Heard that.
I'm doing this next year, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope you all do. I think you're doing a great job at it. What have you learned that has made you better leaders at South Gibson?
I've learned that everybody, like even just talking to different schools, like I've learned that everybody learns a different way. So like it kind of helps you like when you're talking to kids. Like sometimes like some will take it as motivation when you're yelling at them, but then some of them will break down and like just not be able to do what you're asking them to do. So you kind of learn who the people are and just teach them how they learn best.
Going off of that, with the section I had for band camp, I learned, and I quote, through Mr. Price, you gotta build them up. You have to build them up. You have to learn each one of them, and you have to understand their strengths and their weaknesses, and you have to build them up no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Because who's knocking them down?
Mr.
You-
Price himself.
Mm-hmm.
I knock them down, so I need y'all to build them back up.
Yeah.
Yep. Me personally, I had to learn how to think and react quick because, especially when things are changing all around us, we have to learn how to adapt. We have to find a game plan, and we have to put it out as quick as we can and get it around to everybody as fast as we can.
Yeah, no doubt. And, all the things you guys just said are the qualities that employers are looking for in their, in their folks that they want to hire. Why you're going in the military, all that stuff that was just said here I've never been in the military, but that's got to be helpful. Being able to depend on the folks that you're with, being able to think on your feet. Those are skills that everybody needs. So I'm glad this is working out for you guys that way. Mr. Price, what have you seen with you started this last year, so how have you seen this develop in your leadership team?
I've seen them realize that band is bigger than just South Gibson County High School. The more we talk about other bands, the more they may take it for granted, but I see it in that they're not just talking about, hey, we need to do this, but like, hey, this band is doing this band is doing that. That's cool. How can we do the same thing that band is doing? So I think it's just opened up the world to them, to these three and the host last year. I think it's just opened up the band world to them. Because we talk about not only West Tennessee bands, but we talk about BOA bands.
Oh, yeah.
We usually have a DCI episode.
Oh, I love that episode.
So it's just
on there
making the
last
world
year.
bigger for them.
Yeah, and Music for All sponsors this podcast.
Hey,
So on my side at
plug.
least. Yep.
There you go.
And so it's and I believed in that. I did BOA for the last 20 years of my career, and I did it because I wanted my kids to meet band members from across the country. We did their summer camp several years, and my daughter went. And some of the first friends that she made after her freshman year were these kids from Australia that came all the way to Illinois back then to do the BOA summer camp. And so she had
Cool.
friends all over the world because she was involved in this. Yeah, they were Australian band kids. That is a thing.
Wow.
And so
Love that.
it was cool, and that's why I really liked it so much, is because it was allowed us to connect to other kids and other students and other schools, and our parents too. Our parents were making friends out in the lot with their semi truck and whatnot with parents from other schools, and
Don't you know it?
learning how to better fundraising ideas and all that kind of stuff. So I was on.
They're going over there looking at their trailers and their props and figuring out what they did. And like, hey, how did you build that prop?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We're going to do that next year.
And all of it leads to support for the arts, which was always my ultimate goal. What would you say to kids in other bands? What is your advice to students across the state?
Pray. Just try to stay happy at all times, and yeah, that's really it. Just stay happy.
I would say the same thing I tell my kids, and that what Wyatt just mentioned. It's the directors and the staff. We're supposed to criticize, and that's how we help you get better, is telling you what you did wrong. Well, they need somebody outside of us telling them, hey, you're doing great. Encourage each other. Even if that person is struggling, it's not your job to knock them down. It's your job to encourage them and tell them they're doing great.
Yes.
And that would just be my one piece of advice. Encourage each other.
Yep.
I would say don't if say you mess up a rehearsal, don't beat yourself so much up to where you don't love what you're doing anymore.
It's a good one.
I know a lot of kids get burnt out just in the middle of the school year randomly.
Yeah. I would say to keep pushing yourself to try and strive for greater, because if you keep pushing yourself further and further, eventually that's going to become your new standard and you can continue to go on from there.
Yeah, getting out of that comfort zone or expanding your comfort zone. Yes.
Exactly.
Very good. That's great advice. If our bands across the state heed what you guys have just said, we're going to get a lot better. So thank you for that. Okay, so if you guys want to ask me questions, we could talk about the Middle Tennessee perspective. That'd be great as well. Do you have any other final thoughts about something I haven't asked about?
I do want to ask you where you taught. Where did you teach for 20 years?
I was kind of all over the place. I actually started teaching in West Tennessee. My first job was in Lexington.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was there for 4 years, and then that was starting in 1992 because I'm a little bit old. And then I went to John Overton in Nashville, and I was at Overton for a few years. And then I was in Williamson County for 19 years. I was at Ravenwood, and then most of my time was at Franklin High. I was at Franklin for 12 years. And then left Franklin to become the district fine arts director. And that was during COVID, and I really wasn't a fan of administration. I missed band. So I went, and I finished my last 2 years at Siegel High School in Murfreesboro. And my wife had a stroke in September of my second year when I was at Siegel. And so I retired at the end of that year so that I could help her with her recovery. So after I did that, I started a podcast. So that's sort of my pathway through all this.
Now that's quite a story. We need to give you a full interview at some point. That sounds like an interesting story we could get more into.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Do y'all have any questions for him?
Yeah, I do. As a musician in like high school, what influenced you to be a band director during that time?
That's a great story. It's really pretty nerdy, but so I went to a tiny little high school. I went to Hickman County High School.
Yeah.
And my band director was a young band director named Fred Barlow. And he took us to the Contest of Champions to watch. Like, we weren't probably good enough to go, but he took us to watch. And this is back when Contest of Champions finals was full of bands that were all pretty much 200 kids in the band. I mean, it was just a whole finals full of large bands. And so my friends and I, this is my sophomore year, we were all kind of picking who we thought was going to win. And my favorite band was the North Hardin Band from up in Kentucky. Dale Warren was the band director at that time at North Hardin. And they won that night. And I remember it was really weird. I had this feeling that came over me. I got like all fuzzy feeling as I was watching these kids after they had just been announced as the winners, because they were so incredibly disciplined. They just won this contest, this big contest, and nobody moved. Like, it was a full on-field retreat kind of thing. Nobody moved. Nobody acted crazy. They were all super disciplined. And I was just so overcome by the discipline of those kids that were the same age as me, because I was a sophomore. And so right there in the MTSU stadium, some Saturday night in October of 1984, I decided to become a band director. So,
dude, that's a movie.
That was me. That was me.
That was
Real.
Well, it was. That's the true story. So
that's cool.
And I enjoyed my career very much, and got to meet a lot of great people. And in fact, I'm a little sad today because one of my band parents at Franklin, her name is Lynn Grayson. Her son David is the band director at Independence High School in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
Miss Grayson was the uniform mom at Franklin from 2005 until yesterday when she passed away.
Oh, dude.
Passed away 19 years as the uniform mom. Her youngest daughter graduated in 2012.
Wow.
So
she
she's
just loved
been
doing it.
Volunteer uniform mom for 12 years.
That makes it worth it right there. When
you meet
have
some
people
wonderful
like that.
people in this job, and she was one of them.
Well, cool.
Yep.
Do y'all have any, Sadie or Olivia, y'all have any questions?
Yes. What was your funniest moment that you can recall as being a band director?
I don't know. So many of those funny things, they're funny like in the moment.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it's hard to describe it and it'd be funny to anybody that doesn't know all the backstory. There's so many. it would be hard for me to say which one's the funniest, but I've got a bunch. And of course, as you ask me, they're all leaving my mind right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as soon as we get off this podcast, I'll be like, oh, I should have talked about this.
My bad.
But there was just so many. What I loved about it was all the different personalities of the kids that were in the band. There were some students, no matter what school I was at, that were super serious, very academic minded, and there were students that were more concerned with being around their friends and sort of being a good community member, and had some other great traits. And the wonderful thing about a high school band is everybody's there working together to make the band great, no matter what your sort of nature is. It's a lot of different kinds of people that are working together, and some of those kids were incredibly funny to be around. So that's, I guess, the way I would answer your question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have 2 more follow-up questions.
What?
What accomplishment?
Do you want your
What
part?
accomplishment in your teaching career are you most proud of?
I guess I would say when I was at Franklin, we got to play at the Tennessee Music Education Conference 2 times. And the second time we played the Tennessee Bandmasters Association Hall of Fame concert. And I would probably think that moment of that concert was probably my favorite.
Because only the best of the best play at that. Yeah.
It was a great concert. The kids were incredible in their preparation. I think we did a good job choosing music that went over well with the audience. The person that was going into the Hall of Fame was our friend Jeff Beckman, who was the band director at McGavock for a long time, and Jeff's a percussionist.
Yeah.
We happen to have a really strong group of percussionists, so our program had a lot of emphasis on our percussion players in the concert band, and so I was really happy we were able to choose a concert that would mean something to him as well. So, and then we had a lot of success in marching band. I remember one of my first time the band that I was directing won a band contest was my 3rd year, and we were at the Union City contest, and we won the small division when I was at Lexington.
Cool.
And that meant as much to me as, I was able to be a part of a program that won a couple of BOA regionals later on. And I think that Union City moment was as profound as any of the others.
Nice.
And I still have that one more question.
Well, Olivia, did you have a question?
I did, but then Wyatt stole it.
Oh, no.
Wyatt, come on, man.
I'm just gonna go superficial and right off the top. Do you have a favorite concession food?
Oh my god.
That's our backup question.
It's
When did I
very-
steal it? When
it's
did I
a-
steal it?
But it's a very
It's just a make or break.
defining
Yeah.
This is the
question.
most
Do or
serious
die.
question
Right.
that anyone could
Right.
ask, right? I want to say, is it dessert only, or is it like
it can
an
be
entree
It
kind
can
of
be
thing?
anything.
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 It's hard to beat a really good concession stand hamburger.
Ah.
Okay.
I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's only if it's really good.
Yeah.
Like,
There's some bad ones out there.
yeah, we've all had it.
Sure.
I would say probably a second to that is funnel cakes.
Oh, dude, yes.
Oh.
I can't. I don't like
You don't like funnel
Yeah,
No.
funnel cakes.
They make me want to throw up.
The nachos, like people get the nachos, like it's just plastic cheese. Like it's not even real.
Yeah.
See,
It's ain't
I
real
like
cheese.
nachos.
I don't think I've ever gotten
Where are
nachos.
standards in
So
food
we're-
anymore,
Haters.
But also, like, it's also regional. Like if I'm in West Tennessee, you can't get good barbecue in Middle Tennessee, honestly.
Oh.
Really?
Ooh.
So if I'm in
Okay.
West
So
Tennessee,
real.
no, not really. So if I'm in West Tennessee, I want barbecue.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
That's
add
fair.
it to our
Better over
concessions
there.
menu.
That's what
I
we
do
had.
get
Didn't we
barbecue
have?
nachos.
We had like smoked bologna at our Hornet Invitational.
Strong,
Sure did.
very strong.
I
Yep.
took
It was
home,
yummy.
I took home a whole.
It was
Oh my gosh.
yummy.
Yeah. All right, Wyatt, you had one more question.
I have 2 more.
Quit reading.
What role do you have? What role do you think music education plays in students' development?
I think it's huge. I think you learn really to maximize all the skills that it takes to be a success in anything you do. If you want to be a doctor, being a musician is helpful for that because you have to be creative, but you also have to be very disciplined. So learning how to exactly play something right in the rhythmic pocket, and at the same time you phrase it and give it artistry and beauty, that way of thinking is beneficial to anything in the anything you can do. So and actually there's a piece of flesh between the two hemispheres of your brain called the corpus callosum. And everybody has this, but it's stronger in musicians because the two hemispheres of the brain have to constantly communicate and talk while you're playing music. So there's evidence of the brain's development is impacted by people's study of music.
So
we
what,
learned something today.
Okay, Google
what I'm
it.
hearing is make band mandatory.
No, I love that.
It will make us smarter.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
There you go.
Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your career?
Yeah, I would have thought more like you all do when I first started teaching. Because I was probably too competitive. I was a young college graduate. I had done drum corps when I was in college, and so I wasn't so much about the sort of the aspects that you've described here about students helping each other and that sort of thing. I was probably too much of a hard driver when I first started teaching, and later on I learned sort of the bigger picture of it.
That kind of my question for you, that leads to that question. If you were to give advice to directors and even students about burnout as far as competition, this is something we kind of talked about in Huntington a little bit, where some bands have actually gone away from the competitive route because it became too much for the program, too much for the director.
Yep.
It's a fine line between trying to do your best and then going overboard and burning yourself out and it not being fun at all.
Yep.
So what kind of advice would you give with your experience to these younger directors who are having trouble finding that line?
Rehearse less.
Oh,
wow.
Whoa.
Bomb drop.
Rehearse less and rehearse smarter.
Rehearse
There
smarter.
you go.
That's
There you go.
yeah. There's the secret.
Yep.
get more with the time you have.
And I would say also, there was a year at Franklin where just through circumstances, we only went to 2 band contests that fall.
That's going to be about what we do this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. We had some stuff with our staff, and like my father died in the middle of that season, and so we went to a BOA regional in Clarksville in September, and then we went to Grand Nationals. So we had no contest in October, and that was as good a band from a performance standpoint as I ever had was that year, because those kids really practiced, and we valued going to practice more than we did going to a competition, because we were able to see it as the individual and group development that we had to. The only thing we could do is really practice. So we valued practice a lot that year. So that's how I would say it. I mean, winning is a byproduct of excellence. If you want to be good at anything and be a quote unquote winner, then get really good at what you do. You want to win basketball games? Get really good at dribbling, passing, and shooting. That matters more than what happens in the game.
It's not about beating the other side. It's about becoming better on your side.
Absolutely. That's why I take a lot of heat because I'm kind of an Alabama fan from Nick Saban's days. One of my favorite things about Coach Saban was there was a game where people interpret this as though he's being ruthless, but it's not that. There was a game where they were up, I don't know, some ridiculous score, like 60-0 on this team. And he had some younger players in at the very end of the game, and they couldn't get lined up the right way. So the kids were just, his players were so caught up in the fact that they were up by this large score that they weren't paying attention. They weren't where they were supposed to be. And he called timeout and used that moment to correct them. And people saw it as something that it wasn't. What it was is he wasn't paying attention to the score. It didn't matter what the score was at that point in the game. What mattered was he wanted to teach those students to be those players to be the best that they could be in that moment. And so I think if we thought a little bit more like that, and
Good coach,
then we'd be better off. All the UT fans hate me now. So
Yep. You just lost half the audience here.
Well,
you did say something about drum corps and that you marched in it, right? So
I did.
What corps was it?
I marched Phantom Regiment.
I love you.
What year?
I marched 1 year. I was a lead soprano in 1990.
Oh,
Which was
We'd
a
be
really
best friends.
really boring drum corps show that year. but it was fun. I'm really glad I did it because as a band director, I learned the importance of logistics. The next year, I won't name this choir's name, but I taught a choir the next year that was a pretty good choir. They had been a finalist, but they were not very organized and couldn't make it to shows on time. Buses were breaking down, food trucks were breaking down, and so I learned how important logistics are because those kids were constantly in a state of flux and chaos all summer long. You can't really rehearse well if you only had saltine crackers for a meal, you know?
Yeah.
And so being able to get the students to be in the best position they could be through my planning and logistics was a really, really great lesson I learned by being a part of Phantom Regiment for that year. And then I was a drum corps judge for a couple of years too, so that was fun.
That must have been fun. Yeah, judging drum corps. Ooh.
Very stressful. Well, I can't thank you all enough. It's Wednesday. You ought to go home and eat nachos or funnel cakes or hamburgers.
Plastic cheese.
Okay.
Plastic cheese.
Her.
And enjoy your day. What show do you have this weekend?
We're going to the Gibson County Marching Invitational this weekend.
Whoop, whoop.
There you go.
Should be
And
fun.
then when do you finish? Where do you finish?
Okay, so we got Gibson County this week, and then the next week we're going to Dyer County, and then we finish at the Division II State at Stewart's Creek
Yeah.
on November 2nd.
I live in Smyrna. I'm actually zoned for Stewart's Creek, so that's right down the road from me.
Nice.
Well, hey, you're invited to come on out.
Come
Yeah.
watch us.
Yeah.
I'm judging Division I that day,
Aw.
so I'll be there for that. But good luck, South Gibson. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I would
Thank
love
you.
to do more of these episodes
Yep.
where we get together. So, yeah, I thought
Okay,
this was a lot of fun.
perfect. In the second part of the episode, I sit down with music education students from MTSU, some who are about to student teach, and talk about their experiences as undergrads. Thanks to CNAFME President Dawson Campbell, along with Sean Bennett, Allie Blackwell, Riley Harris, Dallas Turkel, and Noah Betancourt for discussing a number of topics, including their starts in band and what they hope to accomplish as teachers.
My name is Sean. I'm from Watertown, Tennessee. I'm a euphonium player. I'm 21. I'm about to start student teaching in the spring full time, and I'm very excited.
What's your last name, Sean?
Bennett,
Very good.
2 N's, 2 T's.
Oh, thank you for spelling it.
Okay, my name is Allie Blackwell. I'm from Mount Juliet, Tennessee. I'm about to start student teaching next semester as well. I play flute here, but I also have a ton of drum corps experience. I love playing percussion in the marching arts.
My name is Riley Harris. I'm from Murfreesboro. I went to Blackman High School. I play trombone, and I teach some lessons sometimes, but I'm only a sophomore, so I'm starting my music education journey.
Have you done any private lessons or band camps or anything like that?
Yeah, I taught lessons in high school for a little bit for middle school, and now I'm teaching lessons for high schoolers, about like freshman level
Yeah.
high schoolers.
Very good. So what drew you to band in the first place?
I did not want to be in choir.
That was it?
That was
I mean,
it.
you could have chosen like football or something like this. So it was
No.
band or...
We had to be in a music class
Okay.
on Fridays in 5th grade.
Okay.
And
Okay, so it was just band. Like it was, you wanted to do something and you had to do something, and so it was band.
yep.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, my mom put me in piano lessons like so young that the piano books were coloring books. Like I was drawing in keys with my Crayola markers.
That's funny.
And obviously elementary music, I loved it. It was my thing. And the bell choir. And I never stopped piano lessons, and then my piano teacher was actually a flute player. So I ended up doing that, and then we have a huge marching arts program where I went to high school, so it was just the cool thing to do.
Yeah.
So kept on doing it.
So at Mount Juliet, did you play, were you in the battery or were you in the front ensemble?
I was in the battery.
Okay. Yeah. And so what do you think about, you talked about elementary music. Is that interesting for you as a profession?
Yeah, I've been so involved in the marching arts. I teach after school at a bunch of schools in Wilson County. So I've definitely got my fix there. I think I want to do middle and elementary.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I did piano lessons as well for a very long time. Didn't really like it, didn't have fun with it. I then did choir. I'm not a great singer, so I didn't really like choir that much. But I remember a specific day in elementary school, our middle school band directors came to the elementary school and had us start keeping a beat on our legs. And they were like, if you can keep this beat like perfectly, you need to do band because you're really good. And I was like, oh, I'm awesome then. I'm going to be great. So I was like, okay, then I'll join band. And I did it in middle school and high school.
All three of you, what are you excited about with the potential of being a teacher? What is the draw for you? It's not the pay, probably, compared to what you could make in other professions. So what is it that makes you want to be a teacher? Riley, you can start.
I know music was like what kept me going in high school. I was in a dark time, and I didn't feel like I was good enough. But when I did music, I was like, oh, that's my escape. I'm excited to be someone else's escape, to have a student be like, okay, in music class, I can be me, and I don't have to pretend. I want to give someone else the same joy I got out of band in high school.
Yeah, that's a big challenge, though. I love what you're saying, but that requires so much of you as a teacher, because then you have to put yourself in the position that you can be in that giving place. You know what I mean? It's very difficult to maintain that sort of like even keel emotionally, because it's really hard. So just be prepared for that to be a challenge. I love that that's your idea for this. That's wonderful. But because you have that servant's heart, so to speak, it's going to make things really difficult for you. So just be ready to prepare yourself for how you are going to sort of be able to provide that environment for those students.
Yeah.
Good for you. Allie?
I'm kind of in the same boat. Music has been my thing. I can't remember ever not being involved in music. So I don't think my goal is to necessarily build like the first trumpet in the symphony, but I want to give kids positive experiences with music. It surrounds us in every single way possible, and I don't know, it's a part of us.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. My thing as the older I got was I wanted my students to walk across the stage at graduation and turn their tassel and leave as adults that were supporters of the arts.
Yeah.
That was a much bigger thing for me than how we did in concert band or how many kids I had in mid-state band. I mean, those things are those are byproducts of other things, It's how the kids leave and the place that they feel that they're in when they're in school. Sean?
Yeah, not to be a copycat, but yeah, kind of same thing here.
I love the fact that you're all three saying this, though. Like this means that this next generation of teachers is coming into the profession with really level heads. Good.
Yeah, definitely same thing. Music has been like my first year marching band. I was like, oh, this is it. This is what I'm doing. I want to do this forever. Yeah. And then now for me, it's like mostly like professional student relationships, like making those and like being a place that they can like be and be like, yeah, this is enjoyable. I like this.
I love it. Would you all just say your names one more time for the podcast listeners, and then we'll move on to the next group of kids here.
My name is Sean Bennett.
My name is Allie Blackwell.
I'm Riley Harris.
Hey, thanks all three of you for being on. I appreciate it. Good luck.
I'm Dallas Turkel. I play the tuba, and I'm a freshman at MTSU.
Very good. Dallas, is that your first name?
Yes.
Dallas, what's your last name?
Turkel.
Dallas Turkel. And where'd you go to high school, Dallas?
Rockville High School.
Oh, very good. Mr. Sears, Mr. Lowry. Good friends.
My name is Noah Betancourt. I'm a horn player, and I also went to Rockville with Dallas, and I'm a freshman, so we're in this boat together.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, my name is Dawson Campbell. I'm a senior here at MTSU, and I'm from Watertown.
Just like Sean Bennett from earlier. That's right. All right, so you freshman, senior. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about differences in perspective. So Dawson, what did you learn when you were a freshman that's led you to here as you're about to student teach?
I think the biggest thing is just using all the resources available to you, whether that's other student teachers, other upperclassmen, campus resources, or things like that, and also reaching out and being a part of the community, like Mr. A had said earlier. Just reaching out to band directors when you have those questions.
Yeah, I just mentioned this. I'm down here at MTSU because Jonathan Wright and I from Blackman High School spoke to the college NAFME kids, and the thing that we both communicated was that you have to ask for help, and I've never encountered anybody in the profession that's not been willing to help and willing to lend their expertise and knowledge to make your program better. So don't be afraid to ask for those kind of little moments of help. Okay, Dallas? What are you excited about learning? What do you think the biggest challenges are?
The biggest challenges I'm seeing, and as just everything's going on, is trying to find at least some semblance of work-life balance, even if that doesn't really exist. And just being ready to finally student teach when it comes time for that, and just dealing with, okay, I have to do all these other things. I have to get used to everything here, learn how everything works, meet all the students, just everything like that.
Okay, so Noah, what are you excited about learning as you go from freshman to senior?
I am just excited to just learn the process and how to be able to help students and have the kind of effect on them to make them consider, hey, I might want to do music for my life, whether it is going into education like I am, or if it's even just performance, industry, or majoring in something completely different and just playing gigs at their local, like, guitar shop, wherever they can get work. It's just, I want to have an effect on people to where even if they didn't first like enjoy music at all, at least let them leave high school knowing they were doing something productive and creative with their life.
There's nothing wrong with us creating doctors and lawyers that are willing to buy all the cookie dough in the band fundraisers. You know, like there's a different ways of supporting the arts, and one of those is to continue to play your instrument. One is to have conversations with neighbors and that sort of thing about supporting. You know, if you have a kid that goes through your program and becomes a doctor and they live next door to a family of 4 kids, you want that person that you taught to be an advocate for band in whatever city that is.
Just to have like an appreciation for it, and
that's how we grow it.
They were a doctor. Tell the kids, hey, give it a shot. It's could be good for you. Could be your new favorite thing, or it could be just something that gets you through high school.
Yeah, you find your community for sure. So both you went to Rockvale. Did you both go to Rockvale Middle School?
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about like how was that recruiting process for you as a little kid, and what drew you to band, Dallas?
Honestly, what drew me to band was, and I mean this completely honestly, my parents were also in band. They're like, you have to do band at least once. Just do it. We'll see what happens. So the process started, I was in Scales Elementary for 6th grade, so I started there. And they had us test different mouthpieces and stuff to see where we would sit. I got through everything, and they said, you're going to be a tuba player, which is a little interesting. I wasn't fully ready for it, but I ended up being the tuba man in 6th grade.
The tuba man.
And then continued on. I met other people who played the instrument in Rockvale Middle and just went through all of that. Miss Corto.
Yeah.
But it was all great. It got me into a lot more stuff. I learned about jazz at that point. I love jazz music. And then high school came in. I've been doing a lot better in there. I finally started playing jazz music my senior year as a bass trombone. So a lot kind of went along in that track of time from when I started as just a little 6th grade tuba player somehow and continue to where I am now.
Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but your middle school principal, Mr. Barlow, he was a tuba player.
I did know that.
He was my high school band director.
Ooh.
Yeah, he was incredibly impactful on my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told us at one point that he was a tuba player. I heard it from Miss Corto and Miss Heiss. That was awesome. I'm like, oh, there's more of them.
Yeah, there's more of them. He was great as a young band director because he was so willing to expose us to things. So I was in Hickman County, and he would just take us everywhere. We would load the bus, and we would go see this concert, or we would go watch this and that. And he, even though we were a long way from sort of an established arts community, he made it feel very close because he took us places. He gave up a lot of his own personal time to make sure that we had a great experience. And so it's funny that we're all sitting here together and we have this connection. That he was your middle school principal and my high school band director. So Noah, what about you with the getting started in band and all that stuff?
So my experience, I think, is basically kind of like on the opposite end of the spectrum that Dallas had. I come from a family where music isn't important. There's no musicians in my family that I'm aware of except for a cousin who plays clarinet, and she's a year younger than me. So I didn't really know what I was getting into. I knew I enjoyed music, and how Rockvale Middle did it was within the first week, you got to experience both the band and the choir class. You know, go in there, watch a video, and be like, hey, is this something you want to do? And out of band and choir, I chose band and went through that process. How Miss Corto did it, which I later saw Chris Lowry, he handles it this very similar way. There was a fitting day for your instruments, and you just went in, you played on all the instruments that they had available, and I could have walked out of there playing basically anything on display.
Are you flexing right now?
I
It
mean,
feels like a flex, Noah. I
not
could have
coming
done
off
anything.
like that, but
I think the cool thing about Rockvale High is they have a beginning band in the high school program, and I know a lot of programs have that, but Mr. Lowry, Mr. Sears have talked to me about the number of students they've had that have gone through that beginning band as freshmen that have ended up being like some of their better players and section leaders. That's just a cool way to allow kids to onboard at their own pace.
and I had even experienced it my senior year. I had finally was like, hey, I have a class to fill. Can I join beginning band either as a teacher aide or just go through the process? And Lowry told me it would probably be more beneficial to go through the process, and I ended up playing flute in that, so never really escaped
There
it.
you go. Yeah, it's someone asked a question in our session about learning how to play difficult parts or how to help students with parts, and the whole thing is you have to equip students with skills that they can then execute and then choose very carefully the music that they're going to play. And Mr. Wright talked about this also, that one of the things that band directors often do is over-program for their bands. And they play music that they liked in college, that they enjoyed, and that doesn't fit the skill set of the students they're teaching, honestly, most of the time. So it's choosing the music that really fits the kid's skill set and allowing them to be successful because of the choices you've made. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with those choices. So Dawson, how have you grown? How has your perspective changed since you were a freshman here?
I would say the biggest thing that's helped is exposure. Just being able to talk to people, get their different insights on their sorts of programs. And that really has helped me kind of, like, deep next to my heart is just wanting to give students opportunities. That's a big part of my philosophy, is providing the students the necessary, like, knowledge or skills or whatever it be to, get them to mid-state, all-county, and things like that. And just also, like you had mentioned earlier, taking your kids to places.
Yeah.
That's a big thing, because from, like, where I'm from, we had our music director, Mr. Corley. He was the band director and choir director.
Yep.
And he loves both of them. But it's difficult for him to provide those sorts of opportunities because he's dealing with two programs as one person.
Yep. Well, very good. Thanks, guys, for being on Bandstand. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to Bandstand. Bandstand's mission is to build a stronger, more unified band community in Tennessee by fostering meaningful conversations about the past, present, and future of school bands in our state. If you have topic suggestions or need to get in touch with us, email us at tbabandstandpodcast@gmail.com. Your input is important to us, and if you have a topic you'd like to discuss about the past, present, or future of Tennessee bands, please let us know. Again, that email is tbabandstandpodcast@gmail.com. Right now, we're broadcasting on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts, so please subscribe, review, and rate Box 5, please. And if you find something interesting or helpful, please share this podcast with your friends. Bandstand is proud to be sponsored by Music for All and Romeo Music. See you next week.